Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of The Clueless Capitalist, where we discover interesting startups, interview founders, and help you become less clueless with angel investing. My name is Razy.
My name's Osman, and together we're the Clueless Capitalists.
So for today's episode, we have Rubaiyat, who is one of the co-founders and the chief operating officer of Markopolo. Markopolo is a MarTech SaaS platform that can help you run and manage ads on multiple platforms like a professional marketer. So the tool uses AI to generate copy, identify your audience for you, and schedule cross-platform social media and search ad campaigns. So it sounds like the platform is putting out digital marketers like me out of business, but it's very interesting to hear. So welcome to the show, Rubaiyat.
Hey, really glad to be here.
So before we ask you any further questions, right, I think it'd be great if you could run us through the pitch deck. So over to you.
Hey everyone, so we are building an ad agency replacement SaaS for B2C or D2C businesses globally. And we have been cash flow positive since day one. We have almost doubled our customer numbers in last 30 days. And in that last 30 days, our customer growth is 167.1%. And our quarterly retention rate is 93.10%. And we recently launched in AppSumo. Within 30 days, we crossed $100,000 in sales from there. So the problem we are currently solving is that 80% of micro businesses waste half of their ad budget. And Mindy is one of them. Mindy is an e-commerce founder who have less than 20 employees. And she usually does less than USD $20,000 in monthly ad spending. Currently, she has two options. Either she do it by herself, and in that, if wrong execution is done in there, it costs hundreds of dollars, even thousands of dollars for her, which is really critical for her because of her capital crunch. Another option is to go with hundreds of hours of learning, and in that option, she had to invest that time out of her precious time in business management. So how about the market size? The market size is about 120. So the total advertising spent and customer lifetime value of these users, if we count in that. And the market is growing. It's growing in a rate that in 2026, it will reach $876.1 billion market. So globally, there are more than 77 million users in B2C or D2C businesses like Mindy. What's Markopolo? So we have built a complete paid marketing suite, and it helps users like Mindy launch targeted ads like a pro marketer. And currently we are automating ads in Facebook, Instagram, Google, and YouTube. We'll be adding more platforms like TikTok, Microsoft Ads within months. So how it works, Markopolo curates the best performing audiences. So the user actually starts their journey by giving some basic information about the brands or the business that they are creating for. And Markopolo tailor-made according to that business description, the audience and even the ads for that particular business. With that, Markopolo actually gives a beautiful bird's eye view of their advertising data also, so that he or she, users like Mindy, doesn't miss any data from their ad campaign. And currently, the pricing model starts from $23 per month, and it's SaaS modality, and it goes up to $2,999 for enterprises with larger number of brands to manage, with larger sum of ad spending to manage. So in 2021, our ARR was 166,000 USD. In 2022, within 6 months, we crossed $418,000 in ARR, and currently our user base is 1,673 users strong. We are aiming for 600,000 USD in ARR to reach within September. So these are some customer loves shown to us. So we have been serving e-commerce stores, MSMEs, Shopify, and Amazon-based sellers. Apart from them, we are serving some agencies. Currently, if we see the competition landscape of ours in terms of self-serve performance and replacing agency needs for users like Mindy, Markopolo is in the top quadrant. So our go-to-market strategy is currently like this. In quarter one, we reached all our OKRs in terms of go-to-market strategy. In quarter two, we have also reached that. And in quarter three and quarter four, we are aiming for more channel partnerships, PRs, and integrations with other platforms in our segment. So I'm Rubaiyat, I'm the co-founder and CEO, and previously I have one experience of exiting from my previous SaaS startup. It was a project management tool, and I have Tasbeen. She's our CEO. She has earlier led the business development of a visual AI startup, Gaze. Interesting fact was it was one of the very early startup in Bangladesh in this space, and she was one of the early employees there. She took an exit from there too after building that business to around $50 million in total. And I have Kabir, who is a rockstar engineer, and he has more than 5+ years of experience in NLP and DevOps. So we are looking for $1.1 million in funding. We have already closed 200,000 USD from Accelerating Asia and multiple angels. So the amount will allow us to reach $2 million in ARR in the next 12 months. It's a critical milestone to reach, because after that we will reach a certain stage where we can have a product market fit in this space. So let's simplify marketing for Mindy, and it's a $1 billion market. We'd love to have you with us.
So thank you for sharing that. I mean, I think it's a very exciting opportunity. One of the questions that I had in mind, you mentioned Tigro, right? The project management tool that you exited from. So maybe you could share with us, like, what was the origin story? Like, how did you get started with Markopolo? What prompted it? What sparked it? And how did it bring you, Kabir, and Tasbeen together?
Yeah, so the origin story actually started just during the pandemic. So me and Tasbeen were college friends, and Tasbeen was working with her SaaS startup, and she used to actually work with the smaller size businesses, and she used to work as a growth marketer and consult those smaller size businesses. And when the COVID started, then the amount of volume of these smaller size businesses coming to her to actually get those growth marketer suggestions or related to performance marketer suggestions increased, doubled, and tripled. So she used to give some of them to me, forward some of them towards me. And while doing that, me and Tasbeen, it just clicked that if we can automate in this space for this particular audience segment, we can have a scalable product. We just had a theory back then. We didn't have that much AdTech experience. So that's why, like, after we actually, of all the creation of the theory and all, we actually started working with AdTech agencies first. With the largest AdTech agencies in this space in Bangladesh, we went to them and we told them that we have a very strong technical background and we have a small team, but with that team had like machine learning experience and AI experience, which we wanted to use in this space, in AdTech space. So that was in 2020, like about October 2020. And at that time, particularly no advertising agencies in Bangladesh had that type of stronger side in analytics or in terms of data analytics, in terms of machine learning in their team. So they actually hired us as a service provider or as a third-party vendor. And what we did, we actually worked with them to serve their clients, to serve those ad agencies' clients, and work with their data analytics in advertising and all. So we used to give them like solid to-do list in this space, what to do in the next phases and all. Our first work was with bKash. It is the largest fintech company in Bangladesh. And because we're struggling with some fake reviews back then, and because of it's a competitive space in fintech, and they were struggling with their like aggressive marketing against them from their competitors. So what we did, we actually analyzed what the strategy their competitors are working on, what they can do in this space, what are the wording they can focus on and all. After the whole analysis of the community and their branding and all, also of their competitors, we actually suggested them what to do next and all. And it was amazing because like that, and that advertising agency actually got a yearly retainer from there. So after that, we got like some confidence in this space, and we got to know the user experience of the whole like agency experience. So in June 2021, we actually got to our first MVP after working with those enterprise clients and all, or those smaller size clients, even for those agencies. We got to our first MVP and we launched it in production because we wanted to know if this solution is actually scalable and if this solution has like no geographical boundary or can have those global exposure, like if people from other countries or geographical countries would accept that. And it was amazing. Actually, we got response from more than 20 countries of users, and people were using our MVP, giving us our feedback. We didn't want to like push on the pedal of accelerator right at that moment because we wanted to have those insights from those users first. And after that, after getting those insights and working with those, like from the MVP to our first version launched in January 2022, it leaps and bounds from there, and it was amazing working with those users.
Rubaiyat, I'm not in this industry, and I really don't understand what the problem statement is. Can you just give me like a 30-second? This is the problem and why it's important.
So basically, that's one core thing is that these e-commerce founders or these B2C or D2C businesses, they really have a capital crunch. Like they starts with all they have like bootstrap. Almost every one of them are bootstrap. So their capital crunch is really the core problem is their capital crunch, and they have to spend in advertising because without advertising they cannot in this space, organic spending or organic marketing isn't something that's currently a valid option or option that they can go with currently. So if they go on to advertising, and they have to have that knowledge to have that profitable advertising, or they can hire someone to do that. And in both of the cases, there are some pitfalls in there. And Markopolo is currently there to actually give them the profitable advertising solution so that their capital is safe.
I mean, I have another way to explain it as well. If Rubaiyat, you can. So the first problem statement, right, is of a business owner. So a business owner, when you're just starting out, you have a very small ad budget and you want to see good returns from that ad budget. So you're going to do like what all good entrepreneurs do. They try and do everything themselves. But the challenge is their core competency is not being a digital marketer or running ads. So it's going to involve hundreds of hours of learning, and you might not get the success that you're going to see. So you're going to spend $300, $500 per month, and you're not probably going to see the results. And you end up being frustrated and spending a lot of time. So Markopolo solves that by automating all of that, helping you get the right ROI from your ad efforts without having to learn all of these things by yourself. The other thing that you could do as a small business owner is you could hire an agency, but the agency is going to take an agency fee. So if let's say you're spending $500 a month, maybe the agency will say, hey, look, I want $500 to manage your ads per month. So now you're down $1,000, and maybe that ad agency, because your budget is so small, they're not going to be able to give enough time to that particular account, right? And then maybe that person who's managing the account might be managing 10, 20 other $500 small accounts. And that's going to cause this particular business owner's results to suffer or to be impacted. So the small business owner can't afford the agency. But that's what Markopolo is solving. And I think the other thing that Markopolo is solving is for the agency owner themselves. There's so many small agencies out there. And also considering the time that we are all in with recession, a lot of companies, their advertising budget is shrinking. So agencies are taking on a lot more clients. And when you take on more clients, you're not able to give enough attention to each of these advertising accounts. And when you have AI automation like Markopolo, it gives you the ability to handle many accounts at one time and still be able to get the ROI from the advertising spend. So I feel Markopolo is solving these two problem statements. One, the business owner having to do it themselves. Second is the agency owner having to manage a lot of advertising accounts, and at the same time being able to deliver results, which is the challenge. And that's why automation comes in.
Okay. If I'm to get this right, remember a long time ago we had this conversation, I think it was the Australian trade industry, and I think you asked a question about your own ad agency, Razy, and the feedback that came back was it's not really an inherently scalable business because the more customers you serve, the more people you need. So as your revenues increase, your costs increase as well. So if I'm to read this right, what Markopolo is enabling for ad agencies the ability to scale and improve their revenues and improve their margins as well. So for one person, they can handle much more in terms of customers. Is that right?
Definitely, yeah. So it's enabling, let's say, your advertising manager, your performance specialist. They can handle a lot more accounts because now they have the AI tool that is helping them optimize the ads, helping them pick the right audiences, and helping them monitor those ads. So definitely, yes, you can scale now without needing more performance advertising specialists. You can do that with a tool like Markopolo.
Got it. Okay, it's great.
So of the 1673 customers that you mentioned earlier at the beginning of your deck, of the 1673 customers, what is the makeup? How many of them are agencies? How many of them are small business owners?
So currently we have around 40% agencies in this user segment, and the rest of the 60% comprises of small and medium-sized businesses. We are supporting some larger sized businesses too. Like one example is we are supporting a FMCG brand that has around 256 products in the SKUs, and these 256 products have their each individual social or every presence, like brand presence, and they have to like run ads for each and every individual of those brands. So currently their account manager, for him to manage all those brands, all those ad accounts, it's a nightmare for him to actually audit those also. So with Markopolo, he can actually do that easily.
Okay, I mean that's one that we missed out also. So earlier we spoke of the business owner and the agency owner. I guess the third use case is what you've just mentioned. Those big conglomerates with a lot of brands that are all also running ads. So then in terms of the retention rate that you mentioned, right, 93.1%, my assumption is maybe it's a challenge to retain the small medium business because maybe they might not have a fixed advertising spend per month. Am I right to say that? I would think that the agency is easier to retain.
Exactly. The agencies and even the larger size enterprises, also like the medium sized enterprises are easier to retain. The smaller or micro size enterprises, they tend to use between multiple products, and ultimately like we have multiple cases where the user undergo churn, then the user return back after going through another product's user experience, and the user return back. So that's the case for smaller or micro size enterprise.
What's the monthly recurring revenue at this point of time?
So we crossed 35,000 USD currently in monthly recurring revenue.
And what's the customer acquisition cost currently?
It's actually, we haven't done in terms of paid marketing, we haven't started that yet because we started launching our product in software marketplaces currently in AppSumo and in product and in other places where you can list our software. In terms of product marketing or in terms of paid marketing, we have built the customer persona. We have used this for building the customer persona. Now we'll use our software to do that actually. So the customer acquisition cost is currently really low. It's around $9 to $10 per customer acquisition. It's an average in terms of tiers, in terms of each tier.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think this is one of Osman's pet questions is, what are the metrics that matter, or what are the metrics that you are keeping an eye on for Markopolo?
The first metric, we are focusing on the retention rate for each tiers. For each individual tiers, we are focusing on the retention rate. We are actually working with the user experience of even the onboarding user experience with that too. For the retention rate, we are also focusing on the jump from trial to actually the paid one. So there is a 14 days trial in our product. So after the 14 days trial, the user get to actually convert into a paid recurring customer. So we are focusing on that, the conversion rate and in the retention rate in that 14 days trial too. And another thing is that the number of campaigns the user are creating, the number of campaigns the user are creating with Markopolo, we are focusing on that too. So it actually gives overall bird's eye view in the activation rate. So we are focusing on that.
So your customer acquisition cost is $9 to $10 per customer. What's the average revenue per customer? You've got the different professional team, business, enterprise. On average, what are you generating per customer now?
I think if we go into percentage, it makes more sense because there are multiple tiers in that. Even we are serving some enterprise customers in there. So the customer acquisition cost is around 10 to 15%. Within that, it's the CAC is there actually, 10 to 15%. And for each tiers, it goes in between this average, 10 to 15%.
Okay, got it. Okay. And when you're signing these customers on, are they signing purely on a monthly basis, or are they doing a full annual contract?
So they are also can opt for the annual contract too. It's super easy in there, and we are also giving them some supplemental offering in there too for getting to those annual traction.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the question was, what are you seeing? Are you seeing them just signing up on a monthly basis, or are you getting a lot of these contracts being signed on an annual basis now?
So currently around 76% of them are on the monthly basis track, and around 23 to 24% are on the annual tracking basis.
Okay, cool. My next one is for Razy actually. Razy, is 2Stallions using Markopolo?
It's definitely something that we are going to be considering getting our team to at least take on the test version. In fact, I know a lot, like I was sharing with Rubaiyat when I met him in person, I know a lot of agency owner friends who are struggling exactly with the problem that Rubaiyat is trying to solve. And I was telling him that I could actually connect them to all of these guys. And so there are many different kinds of agencies, right? So there's agencies that do creative only, and their clients are asking them to manage ads. And to them, they're thinking, hey, look, if I start running ads, that's a way to increase my revenue and to maybe increase my margins. So they want to do this, but they have no clue. And I think Markopolo is a great way to get them started into that side of the business. So the short answer to your question is we're not using it right now, but we're definitely looking into using automation like Markopolo.
Okay. So what would typically be holding a customer back from using Markopolo, Rubaiyat?
So currently the main focus is that we are handling this customer persona, the smaller size businesses or medium sized businesses. So whom they have multiple platforms, like they have different platforms to run ad to. And for them, the user experience actually matters the most. So in terms of user experience, we are actually talking as much with them. So I would say that the holding back option is the user experience. So if they understand how the software is actually helping them with the ROI and easing the whole process, then the stickiness actually goes up and up. But if they don't understand within like creating one campaign and all, like we have estimated around 7 days, then it gets to the churn rate and all. So that's where we are actually constantly improving.
I think another thing that could impact a customer from actually using Markopolo, I think, if you ask me, right, if as an agency or if ask any of the people that I know own agencies, I mean, we have seen a lot of products where they do use AI and they claim they can do a lot of things. So one of the big concerns is because an agency business is essentially a relationship business. So when a customer comes to you, a client comes to you, they trust you to be able to deliver on what you have offered. So the fear as an agency owner to use Markopolo is maybe we're not sure that whether or not the tool can deliver what it says it will deliver, right? So there's always that apprehension because we think like maybe it's better that we take that ad account and get an actual human in our team to manage ad account, to optimize it and to get the result, whereas we are fearful and we are doubtful of whether or not the tool can actually deliver. So I think that would be something that would hold back an agency owner. And perhaps as you go down the road, I think Rubaiyat will probably have a lot of success stories. And I think sharing success stories from agencies around the world who have used this to delight their customers, I think would reduce their resistance for at least the agency persona from using Markopolo.
I was just curious as well, you're tracking the conversion rate. What is the conversion rate from trial to paid?
So currently it's around 64%. It's around that region. So from to trial to the paid subscription rate.
Okay, and for the remainder that don't convert, do you get any feedback as to why they're not converting?
So usually that's the one. So the first portion is that the user experience, it's too hard for them on all. Another thing is that the platform they want to run at to like TikTok isn't there currently. We are currently serving specific platforms right now. And another thing is that we have a strict roadmap that we are currently following. So they have this feature request that we can be incorporating down the line, but not instantly right now. So that's one thing that's the core reason in that part.
Okay. And Razy mentioned earlier on that you've done your own companies before, you've had an exit. So what specifically have you learned from those before that you're bringing to Markopolo today?
So I think the first thing is that in my last company, I waited for the product to build and then went for like those user interviews, creating those, like having those user interviews. So it's like I built the product myself, thinking about like I did some user interviews, but that wasn't actually enough. Like those user interviews are somehow biased too, because I was asking the questions if they have these type of specific problems and all, and these. So after I built the product, then I went for the beta testing and all. Then I went live and selling that product. So that part I actually learned from the last product. And in Markopolo, we actually were the thing is that the cash flow positive since day one. We actually worked on those selling the product first, selling the idea first. Even in the MVP stage, we sold our Notion dashboard. We created a Notion dashboard. We sold the Notion dashboard first. So that's the thing. That's the critical thing. Like talking with the users, selling the product at the very first day.
Got it. That's good.
So, Rubaiyat, where do you hope to bring Markopolo, or maybe what does success look like for you with this particular company?
I think in this space, there are some large players too, and there are some huge merger and acquisition that's been going on in this space for quite a long time. And I think the success stories in this space are more into the larger size enterprises. Like even recently Pixis AI, that's an Indian SaaS in this space, basically in our space, and they are focused on the larger size enterprises, right? They raised around $100 million, and they are building in this space for larger size enterprises. But for the smaller or medium sized enterprises, there hasn't been that one particular standout product that has the capacity to acquire the maximum market share or be the go-to product in this space. So we want to be the go-to product. We want to whenever e-commerce founder, whenever a B2C or D2C founder starts their business, they would have a DIY product in his mind. So that would be like Markopolo to go with to start their business and grow their business.
Got it. And what do you think is holding you back from realizing that dream at this point of time?
So currently, we have fixated upon how our customer persona thinks, how they want to shape our product and all. We have a product roadmap built on and all. So currently, the markets that we are targeting, each and every market have a different dynamics, right? Even though South Asia and South Asian market, we think about it as a cluster, but each and every individual country in this space has a different dynamic in there. One country, there is TikTok is prevalent. They are more focused on TikTok. Another country, Twitter is more prevalent. They're more focused on in that and all. So currently, we are actually identifying those dynamics. So the go-to-market strategy for each and individual geographical location in this space, we are actually figuring this out. So we want to create a common or generalized thing so that we can scale in this region.
So you're raising 1.1 million at the moment. You've got 200k so far committed. Just tell us what you're going to be using that money for, and what other soft commitments have you got at the moment?
From the current fundraising round, what we're doing is that this amount will be more focused on the growth money and in the R&D of the product. In terms of R&D, we're focusing on like the machine learning or AI improvement in this product. We want to spend in that particular portion, so that the thing Razy said, that constantly giving the right output or right performance to the product, right, that we want to ensure with this R&D. Another thing is that in terms of growth money, as we are targeting a huge cluster of demography, a huge cluster of, like, if we want to target each and every cluster of that, we want to create a competent sales team in that, for targeting those enterprise customers also. So in that particular space, we want to spend this money for this segment. And in terms of commitments, Accelerating Asia led our funding round in this round. And with that, Dhawal Shah, another co-founder of Two Stallions, he actually come upon as an angel in this round. Another one is Kaimun Amin. He is also one of the owner of largest ad tech company in Bangladesh. So he also come upon onboarded with us as an angel in this round. We're talking with multiple angels and multiple micro VCs who can actually, we have another 300,000 in soft commitment currently, and we are trying to close this round within October. So we are actually working around this.
Okay. If I was to ask a few more questions around the fundraising, your minimum ticket size is going to be how much?
So currently we're accepting $25,000 in minimum ticket size, and we are prioritizing people who can help us with our growth. So we don't want to take idle money. We want to take individuals. We want to pick individuals in our team. Actually, it's like onboarding in our team, and that's where we're focusing on.
That would explain why you've got some of those people already on board.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. And if I was to, when you do your pitch and you're talking to investors, what's the thing that really sticks in their mind? Both in terms of why they wouldn't invest and why would they invest? What are the two extreme examples you've got?
I think the thing is that the retention rate that we got in this space is amazing. Actually, working with those smaller and medium-sized businesses, or even SaaS in our space, it's a great number to achieve. So that's one thing that actually sticks to their mind. And the most thing that we heard, that the ad tech word. So we are in ad tech or MarTech space, where some investors, they don't understand like MarTech or ad tech, this segment. So what we saw actually in this segment, the larger ones in this space, they tend to identify themselves as AI company or automation company, business automation company, rather than tagging themselves as like ad tech or MarTech company. So we are also the branding of this segment. We are also thinking about that.
Okay. All right. What's the valuation that you're raising at?
So currently it's $3.3 million post-money valuation.
And I personally have seen you before Accelerating Asia through the Bangladesh Angels Network. So again, just for the viewers' information, it's not just through accelerators that you can get your deal flow. You can actually get your deal flow through other groups of like-minded investors. And even though there's the Bangladesh Angels Network, which is a group of Bangladeshi people that are living globally or in Bangladesh, they will look at opportunities coming from Bangladesh and look to invest. It doesn't mean that you have to be Bangladeshi to be part of that group. You can actually join those groups and participate. And that's where I came across Markopolo amongst others. And again, for me, I don't understand the market. I don't understand the industry. So that was the reason why I passed. But your numbers look fantastic. The retention rate is just phenomenal. For any kind of SaaS service to have that kind of, the conversion rate is really high and the retention rate is also very high, which you don't normally see. So I'm pretty impressed with that. And then you've got people in the industry that are actively investing. They're all telegraphing the right information to investors who are not familiar, that this is a product that's got product market fit, it's addressing a problem, it's got the right metrics for it to be successful. So they're the type of things that I would look at. If I'm coming in from an area of not being familiar with the industry as well, I would reach out to those investors who have already come in from that industry to go and ask, why are you investing? What makes you think that this is the next big thing? And get informed on that. That would be my recommendation to any viewers out there that are not in marketing, that are not in this industry. They should look at the both the group of investors that have come in previously and those that are already in on the current round.
So I'm from this space, so I understand what Markopolo is trying to solve, and I can see that this is an idea that is going to have a lot of legs. So since you're not from the space, is there any question that you'd think would be helpful for the other angels who are not from marketing or not from advertising to help them understand this?
Yeah, inherently, I just don't understand the space. So when people are saying, I don't know how to scale these adverts, so what? I don't get it, right? Yeah, I see adverts coming up on, I use Reddit as my primary social media. I don't really use Facebook, and I occasionally use Instagram. So for me, I don't understand the problem. What is the AI component actually doing? And for me, that's the bit that I really don't get. I understand people are saying, oh, this is a real problem. I just don't get it. For me, it's like you go onto Instagram and say, I want to place a few ads, and you go onto Facebook, I want to place a few ads. What's so hard about it? What's become the problem, right? That inherently is my issue. I have no background in this. I don't understand what the need is. And I think if you've got not even a marketing background, but if you know where you're meant to advertise, then yeah, just approach them and place the advert. What am I missing?
So basically, Facebook or Google or these type of conglomerates, the main business model of them is in that advertising spend money, right? They are earning from that advertising spending money. So the thing is that inherently or currently, all the algorithms set in their AI or in their system actually focus on getting the maximum amount of money from your advertising spending, right? And without any observation in that particular campaign that you are running or ad you are running, then it may actually run suppose you are targeting a specific product to a specific people, but the ad is running for another set of people. So actually you are wasting that money in another type of people. So an example can be you are actually selling suppose a shoe, right? You are selling sneakers for users who would be interested in sneakers, right? But if you are not actually that much used to with running ads, or you don't have any experience with running ads, if you target everyone in that as an audience, then you are if you have suppose $100, you are spending in it 1 million people, and in that 1 million people, only 10,000 people would be the one who would have bought your sneakers, right? So basically, you have $100 and you are actually squashing it around to all those 1 million people, and ultimately, out of those 10,000 people who would have bought your sneaker, only 100 people are seeing your ads. So basically, you are losing money in that segment. So what the software does, what AI does, or machine learning does in this space, it actually segments the audience, like it understand like these 1 million, out of this 1 million people, these 10,000 would be the one who you would be targeting to, and it runs that to that 10,000 people. So your $100 is well spent for that particular type of audience. So that's one example for machine learning algorithms in this space.
Okay, so let me just take this to the dumb question that I would have, right? Google ads are really good at what they do, I think. Facebook ads also very good at what they do. If you listen to Mark Zuckerberg, that's what they do. They're not really a social media platform, they're an advertising platform.
Yeah.
So if I've got those sneakers that I expect to sell, shouldn't Facebook be so good at this that instead of just like blasting a million people, it says that this is an advert for a sneaker, based on the demographic information and the detailed information I have about my user base, I will, if you pay me, Mr. Customer, for the adverts, I will get your advert out to the people who are likely to buy sneakers. Right, so by paying Facebook or paying Google, I should expect them to get my advert to that, not just blast a million people. Am I missing something here from that? Because again, I've been told that they're great, they're fantastic advertising platforms, they're good at what they do, but now I'm hearing from you that that's not what they're doing, that's not what they're good at, and this is where you're adding value. I'm confused.
So they're great when you identify your ideal customer persona or whom you are targeting, right? You have to like let the software know whom you are targeting to. So previously, the core algorithm of Facebook ad would be to like get the user to spend more money in advertising spend. So if you spend $100 for 1 million users, the Facebook would say you that you need to spend more in this space to actually get those conversion rate up and running. So you'd have to spend, like, suppose you are spending another $200 to that whole audience segment, then another $200 to have that whole. So you are basically targeting out of that 1 million, that 1,000, and getting those conversion out of. So in this space, what performance marketer does is, like, one thing is that isolating the customer persona. So not everyone would be your customer, one would be your customer. So isolating your customer persona. Another thing is that, like, how to target them in the most efficient way, right? Your customers are not active 24 hours. They're active, suppose, 6 hours or 4 hours daily. So the software understands when should the ad should run, and it shouldn't run 24 hours. It should run 4 hours. So that automatically makes your ads efficient of that 16 hours of ad spending, right? So there are more and more tricks in there, more and more algorithms in there that actually adds on the efficiency part. So for these type of smaller size businesses or medium sized businesses, that number, that like 30 to 40% efficiency in their budget spending, that actually matters, right? That actually makes the do or die situation.
You know, also just to add to that, if you're speaking about your shoes example, right? When you go to Facebook or when you go to Instagram, how many ads do you possibly see? I mean, Facebook doesn't want to flood your newsfeed with just ads, right? So you have to be very mindful to mix it up to something that's very, very relevant to you. And you must realize that you're not the only shoe company. There are hundreds of shoe companies out there that are possibly trying to target the exact same persona as you. So when you think about an ad, right, of course you have to figure out who's your audience persona. Secondly, you need to figure out, like, what is the ad copy, right? What is the ad copy that's going to be compelling to that particular persona? What is the visual? What is that image that's going to capture their attention, right? So the AI, what it will be doing is going to be looking at what copy is compelling. You know, it's going to be able to automatically see which copy is converting the best, and maybe putting in more ad budgets there. And all of these things will be done in real time, right? So it's optimizing the ad and serving the right person. So even if you're limited budget, you can potentially get better results. What happens with working with an agency, depending on the size of the budget that you have, the agency person is managing multiple accounts at one time. They're not going to be able to update or optimize your ads in real time. Some might do it on a weekly basis, depending on how much the budget is. Some might even do it on a bi-weekly basis. So they'll look at the performance for the entire week and they'll say, hey, look, this particular ads did better. Maybe I need to, using that end of the week or the bi-week thing, then they make the optimizations. You've already lost quite a fair bit of money along the way. So that's why AI can do things in real time and automate. And of course, Google is building in some of these or has already built in some of these into their Google Ads Manager, some of these AI and this predictive things. But I think there's a long way to go because like what Rubaiyat is saying, in a way they optimize for your advertising spend, not so much for making sure that you get the fantastic results that you assume. I may give you another example of a company that might need this, right? So we are working with an aesthetic clinic. The aesthetic clinic only has one person in their marketing team. And aesthetic clinics, they have multiple services, facelift, Botox, facials and weight loss. They have a host of services. Now imagine, right, each of these services needs customer targeting, it needs ad copy, it needs visuals, it needs a budget allocation. So let's say he has 10 services and he has a budget of say 10,000 and he equally allocates 1,000 to each of these services. He definitely is not going to be able to optimize the budget in real time. Maybe at this period of time, a lot of people are looking for weight loss. Maybe it would have been better instead of putting all the money to just $1,000 of weight loss, you could have allocated more budget. So the point here is one marketing manager, an entire aesthetics clinic company, host of ad copy to create, to optimize. It's not possible for him to do it on his own. And as great as the platforms like Facebook and Google are, he's only human, right? He's not going to be able to optimize ads at scale, allocate budget at scale, and that too in real time. Something only AI can do.
Okay. There are tools. I've seen tools that have been positioned to me as well in my previous roles in other companies where they use AI, but they use it on location-based data and also other demographic information that they pull. So the biggest example that I saw from these guys, which was really quite compelling, was I'm a car company and I want to sell more cars. I'm a German car company and I want to sell more cars in Japan, right? And the way they were using this particular tool was that they were pulling the location-based data out from people who had their mobile phones, and some of these apps that you download, they have an advertisement component in there, and that's always tracking where you are and what you're doing. And what they were doing from that, they were using the AI to identify the type of person based on where they were going. So if that person showed up in a school and then showed up in an office environment, you would know that this person is a family person with children and is employed, right? And then when you start to see that person showing up in a location for a Toyota showroom, you suddenly know that this person's looking at cars. And therefore, rather than just let them go to the Toyota showroom, I'm going to start pushing my adverts out to them for the German automobile brand. Because now you're targeting the advert to a person in that demographic that's likely to spend because they're already going to have a look at vehicles from a competitor. So there are people out there that are doing this. And again, my question is what makes Markopolo stand out from some of these established, well-capitalized companies that are doing this?
I think the core thing is that in the whole industry, the example that you have given, so that's where they are utilizing the third-party data. So that's the third-party data, the data that you don't own, right? The data that you don't own, you are actually buying these from data providers and all. So with every privacy policy that's been added upon within these 2-3 years, also Google will also close the third-party data within 2 years. So with all those shift in third-party data segment, each of the even the well-capitalized company, they have to focus on first-party database segment. Why I'm saying that? Because like without utilizing your own data, like first party data is your own data, your website pixel data, the interaction that the user are having with your page or page post or page ads, or everything that the data that you own. If the platform's architecture is not built to utilize this type of data, then they won't be relatable in the coming years, in the coming decade. So that's where like I think a software like Markopolo comes in, because we have like the whole architecture of Markopolo. We have focused on utilizing or building it from the scratch with this first party data, focusing on this first party data, even using your CRM data. So that's where like we'll be focusing on. Another thing is that to be relevant and to be unique in this space, we are focusing on like using your input data, like using your brand description or business description or your first party data to create like marketing intelligence, or create a marketing layer that would help you with prescriptive marketing, and that would help you with like what to do next. You are in this stage, what you can do next to actually have those metrics to meet. So we'll be focusing on that. Yeah.
And also to add to that example about the car showroom one that you were speaking about, Osman, like the guy went to school, then went to the showroom. That's helping, I guess, with the targeting and clearly defining that person is in the market. He's the right person, and he's also in the market, or he has the intent to purchase a car. But then when the ad agency comes in, the ad agency still needs to think about what is the right copy to entice him, what is the right visual, what is the right call to action, when should we serve it. And you create multiple versions of the ad, you serve it to similar person like that individual that you identified, and you see which one works best, and you optimize it to get more of these individuals who are being targeted so well by the tool that you're saying. Being targeted so well, but how do we create the ad, the visual, the call to action that gets them to take the action? And that's where you need an agency, and then that's where you need a tool like Markopolo where you can actually do this at scale because you have automation. Right?
Yeah, exactly. We recently launched 32 different languages in there, so you can generate these ad copies in 32 languages, 32 major languages in one.
Wow. One thing that angels or anybody who's going to invest likes to know is what is the potential exit? What is the multiple, or what is the exit strategy for them? So maybe Rubaiyat, you could share a little about what could be the potential exit.
So in this space, so the larger players tend to like more go into acquisition, like Hootsuite has acquired AdExpresso in the past. And this type of larger players, they tend to go with more into this acquisition spree after they like raised a huge round in that. We were recently approached by Pixies actually for like partnership approach, and Pixies is one of the largest in this space in South Asia. So they are more focused on large enterprises in this segment. So we are focused on small and medium-sized segment. So because our architecture is solely focused on this segment, they approach us like they want to explode this segment by partnering up with us or by like going up with us in any way possible. So that's something like we also see, like not right now, but in future also, like acquisition can be one thing in terms of going with the exit strategy. Another thing is that we do have like for every startups there is this plan of going forward to IPO and all. But the thing is that if we scale a sufficient amount in this space, we can surely go with the acquisition strategy in this space. So that's the plan.
Earlier you mentioned Hootsuite acquisition of AdExpresso. What was the acquisition amount for?
I think it wasn't disclosed, so it was around $100 million range. So in that particular space, yeah.
So if you're looking at potential acquisition in the range of 100 million, it's a significant jump in valuation, and this is the main reason why angel investors are doing this rather than putting it into a mutual fund or putting it onto the stock market, because this is the opportunity for them to get a 10, 20, 30x return on their investment in a period of time. And the question would be is normally angel investors are looking at a typical turnaround of anywhere between 5 to 10 years. 10 years is more reasonable as an expectation, but in your view, what does the market look like in this particular marketing tech space where acquisitions happen? How quickly do they happen? How often do they happen? And what's the likelihood of this occurring?
So AdExpresso actually sold them or got acquired within 3 years, I think. Yeah, and like in this space, like if you have that value proposition in your product, you can actually getting acquired within that particular timeline, like around 3 to 4 years timeline, you can get that. And I think like to get to that valuation, like in the last round, we had our valuation of around 850,000 USD. So we almost we got that to around 5 times currently. So within a space of 6 months, right? So that's the segment like we are focusing on, like to adding value, to increasing the business's metrics in that particular portion, so that we can actually gradually add value or exponentially add value in this.
Okay.
Rubaiyat, what is your team size and what is the current burn rate?
So currently we have 19 members, and the current burn rate is around $15,000 in terms of salary and all. And in terms of operations and all, if we add that, it goes up to $24,000.
$24,000. Okay. And in terms of the 1637 customers, right? I know you mentioned that 40% are agencies, 60% are SME plus large enterprises. Are you seeing any particular geographic sort of concentration? Like, are they in a particular region, or are they like all over the world?
Most of the customers that we're getting from currently are from USA, India, and Indonesia. So these 3 regions are the most active ones that we are seeing. We do have like customers from around 57 countries currently, but that 3 actually goes up to around 60% of the whole audience.
Those 3 were how many percent of the whole audience?
Around 60%.
Thank you, Rubaiyat, for sharing about Markopolo with us. So everyone in the audience, you've heard about Markopolo, a very interesting and a very exciting MarTech SaaS platform that helps you run and manage ads like a professional marketer. And we've seen his very impressive numbers on his retention rate, his customer acquisition, and how they did really well with their AppSumo launch. So it's definitely an exciting startup to be part of. And if you want to invest, or if you have further questions, we will leave Rubaiyat's contact details in the description. And if you like this episode, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And for future founders, if there are any questions that you'd like us to ask the future founders that we're going to interview, please leave them in the comments as well. So thank you, and we'll see you on a future episode.